Hello, my name is Sierra Burnett, and today I'll be talking to you about the effects of stress. I've built this PowerPoint of all my statistics in order for you to better understand. Workload, bills, errands. They all add up, and what do they equal? Stress. But what exactly is stress? According to the Help Guide, stress is a normal physical reaction in which your body responds to events that make you feel threatened or upset your balance in some way. Stress is faced by all people in some way and on a day-to-day basis. Looking at this statistic, according to the American Institute of Stress, 1 in 5 Americans experience extreme stress. I personally have a very high stress level. This is something that I struggle with. I believe that it's important to get informed, to understand, and to help manage because it's something so prevalent in each of our lives on a day-to-day basis. I will begin to tell you how stress is caused, the signs and the symptoms, how stress affects your health, as well as dealing with stress. How is stress caused? Stress is different for each person. There's 2 main causes, internal as well as external. Internal being worrying, negative self-talk, rigid thinking, and external being major life changes, school, work, money, etc. I believe that both internal and external are a 50-50 cause of stress in everyday life. Situations and pressures that are causing your stress, both positive and negatively, are considered stressors. Again, looking at my next statistic, according to the American Psychological Association, the 2 major causes of stress are actually because of work and money, which are 2 things that a lot of people stress about on a day-to-day basis. When under stress, your body releases 2 stress hormones called adrenal and cortisol. These actually help the body in an emergency situation. What's happening is your heart beats faster, your muscles tighten, your blood pressure rises, your breath quickens, and your senses sharpen, helping you in the fight or flight action. You must know when your stress level is too high because your stress can creep in and take over your whole life. Overwhelming stress can lead to serious problems down the road. Most Americans are suffering from mild to high stress level, and 44% of this number says that their stress level has increased in the past 5 years. Now that we've discussed the causes of stress, let's consider the signs and symptoms that one sees when having stress overload. There are 4 main areas of symptoms that, depending on your cause of stress. First being cognitive, relating to memory problems, inability to concentrate, and poor judgment. The American Institute of Stress states that stress actually shrinks the brain. In extreme cases, stress can reduce the gray matter in your brain and the regions that are actually tied to the emotional and psychological functions. Secondly, emotional. Moodiness, short temper, agitation. Think about it. When your family and friends are stressed, a lot of the time they react in anger or they're very short with you. That's how some people respond to stress. Third, physical. Some people get aches, pains, stomach aches, headaches, nausea. I learned that the American Institute of Stress says that stress is actually the basic cause of 60% of all illnesses brought into the doctor. And lastly, behavioral. Eating more or less, sleeping more or less, and the use of alcohol and drugs. Another surprising statistic from the American Institute of Stress is that 40% of stressed people overeat or eat unhealthy food in order to cope with their stress on a regular basis. Now that you're aware of the signs and symptoms, let's move on to how stress actually affects your health. Stress is a natural reaction. Stress was actually developed in our ancestors to protect us from threat. We're confronted with challenges every day. From when the alarm for your fight or flight doesn't get turned off, that's when stress is created, and it can actually lead to bigger issues. This can just be from traffic or running late, simple things. Minor stress can have an impact on your everyday life and affect your daily routine, sometimes giving you symptoms such as stomach aches, headaches on a daily basis. And then it can actually lead to a long-term stress, which can have a very negative effect on your life. Long-term stress actually rewires your brain, and it leaves the symptoms worse. It's bad when stress inhabits your life and takes away the ability to actually live. This can lead to chronic stress. And the longer it lasts, the worse it is for your mind and body. It's like wear and tear on your body. Chronic stress can actually cause disease because of the change in your body or the bad habits that people are using to cope with stress. Looking again back at my PowerPoint, according to the American Psychological Association, Forms of chronic stress such as depression or social support or low levels of social support have been implicated to actually increase cardiovascular risk, meaning having to do with your heart. Now that you've seen that stress can actually bring a negative effect, you have to remember that it's easily treatable and manageable. So let's talk about that. Dealing with stress. It is common for people to use a damaging way in order to cope with stress, as we talked about overeating, sleeping less, drugs and alcohol, but we have to remember that there are positive ways for dealing with this. First being a quick stress relief, looking at your senses, viewing a favorite photo, listening to your favorite music, or eating your favorite food. Secondly, emotional connections. Influence emotions on thoughts and actions are vital to manage your stress. You must be aware of your emotions and know how to deal with them. You also have to remember that every person has a different way of coping with their stress, so your way might not be the exact same way as your companion. But what we do need to remember is that managing our stress is about taking charge of our thoughts, our emotions, and our problems. To help you do this, let's remember the 4 A's. Avoid, alter, adapt, and accept. You want to avoid unnecessary stress by staying clear of people or situations that stress you out. Alter your situation if you can't change it. If you can't avoid it, be assertive. Make concerns known to others so you can compromise. And you have to deal with your problems. You can't just leave them. Adapting to your stressors. When you can't change the situation, change yourself. Focus on the positive. Look at the bigger picture. Is it really worth getting stressed out over? And lastly, accept the things that you can't change. Don't make a situation more stressful if it doesn't need to be. One thing that you really need to do in order to manage your stress is strengthening your physical health. First, relaxation time. Yoga, meditation, breathing exercises, all of these things can help. Secondly, exercising regularly. Exercise actually prevents stress and releases tension. Third, eating a healthy diet. When you're well nourished, you're better able to cope with your stress. And lastly, plenty of sleep. It's always important. Increased stress, you have an increased level of stress when you're tired, and it actually causes irrational behavior. Because of the fact stress can be a day-to-day basis, it is good to be informed to manage stress and to better your health. Looking back, we've talked about both the positive and negative effects, that it's both treatable and manageable. And lastly, every technique for every person is going to be different to cope with your stress. The causes of stress can be both external and internal, and both positive and negative effects on your life. You must be able to identify your personal symptoms of stress in order to maintain a healthy lifestyle, and to know what it's going to take to treat and manage your stress. Look at these last statistics just to really understand how serious stress can be on your life. The American Institute of Stress says that stress increases the risk of heart disease by 40%, a heart attack by 25%, and a stroke by 50%. Let that sink in. Don't let stress take over your life. Take the upper hand, get informed, understand, and have your stress under control.